Hey, 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 Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. Come on in, you guys. Come on in. Come on in. I'm making my coffee, you guys. It's going to be a little different today. Just a little different. Come on in. Come on in. Oh, let me share while it lets you know. Good morning, Stacy. How are you, beautiful? Good to see you. Let me go here. Hey, Alita, how are you, beautiful? Good to see you. Good to see you. Great morning. Great morning. You guys come on in. Make sure when you come in, you also share this broadcast. Amen. I'm amazing. Y'all come on in. Come on in. Good morning, Corey. How you doing, beautiful? Good morning. Good morning. Today it's time to slay, honey. It is time to slay. Hold on. I'm trying to share. Good morning, Prophetess Leela. How are you, beautiful? Okay, Alita. Come on in, y'all. Come on in. Amen, Corey. Know that we're praying for you and your family. That's a lot, honey. It's a lot. Y'all come on in. Come on in. Amen. Amen. It's been a journey, but it's an amazing one. It's an amazing one. I really am. God really is working everything out for my good. And that ought to encourage you guys, you know. We have our plans and then God has his plans and then, you know, it all comes together. It's time to slay, y'all. It's time to slay. I'm so excited about this word. Hold on. Yeah, I need my coffee, y'all. Listen, I've been going. So, you know, thanking God for 1044 Pro, honey, to keep me moving and up and energized. All right, you guys. Oh, my goodness. Y'all, I don't know what my hair is doing today. It's not doing what I wanted to do, though. Okay. Let me get this set up. All right. Here we go. Yes, honey. Listen, if y'all don't have 1044 Pro coffee, get it. Passionate Pursuit of Manifested Purposes Ministries does sell it. If you want to purchase it and support the ministry in that way, you absolutely can. Let me know. I'll send you the link. I'm going to have to put this on the other side. All right, you guys. Listen, so we've been in our, I got you, Corey. We've been in our Battle Ready series. We're getting battle ready. We started out the series talking about Gideon, right? Gideon and how God shrunk his army down to 300 and gave them the victory. God gave them the victory, literally turned his enemies against themselves, right? Turned his enemies against themselves, and they began to fight and battle themselves, and they lost, right? They killed themselves off. And so the children of Israel won the battle. The next battle we talked about was Gideon. And then who did we talk about? Next? Gideon was first. And then was Gideon first? Yeah, Gideon was first. And then who's next, y'all? Who do we talk about? Oh, Joshua. We talked about Joshua. So we had Gideon and we had Joshua. We talked about Joshua's journey and how God moved him, took him to where he needed him to be in order to go around the wall. Hagar was before the series. Hagar was before the series. She wasn't part of the Battle Ready series, right? Okay, so we had Gideon and then we had Joshua, right? Now, Joshua, they literally walked around the wall and then once a day for 6 days. And on the seventh day, they walked around 7 times. And the priest blew the trumpet. And then Gideon told them to scream. They screamed and the walls came down. Okay. Now, I want you to notice this, right? The walls came down. They were able to go in and take the city because God had given them the city, had handed it over to them. Now, today, we're going to go to a battle that we're very familiar with, a battle that we're very familiar with. We've heard the story. It's not something that's new to us, but it's a message that I believe is going to give you some renewed faith, hope, and rejuvenation. And it's going to allow you to look at some things a little differently. Okay. It's going to allow you to look at some things a little differently. We're going to talk about the story of David and Goliath. David and Goliath is a very familiar story. We know the story that David slayed Goliath with one smooth stone, right? David slayed him with a stone and a slingshot. That story we're very familiar with. Let's dig in. Let's dig in because I want us to get to the point where we are able to get the mysteries from the word of God. And I listen, I want y'all to be real clear. There are people who talk about people who try to create stuff in the word, but God is real clear that there are mysteries in the word. There are levels to it. So when we are in the word, there's the basic level. Then there's the next level. Then there are other levels, like where God begins to reveal things on a deeper level to us. And when I say deeper, what I mean is there's more to the message than meets the eye. There's more to the story than meets the eye, right? And so there are things that God needs you to know and understand and get, but it may be hidden in another layer of whatever the message is, okay? So let me go. We're going to go to 1 Samuel chapter 17. 1 Samuel chapter 17. 1 Samuel chapter 17. We're going to go back up. And you all know I'm a storytelling preacher, so I'm going to tell the story. So we're going to kind of go through the story because I want you to understand all of what is going on in the story. So I'm going to kind of go through the story. So y'all bear with me. I'm going to go through the entire chapter. I'm going to read to y'all. I'm going to tell y'all the story. I want y'all to listen carefully as I tell the story. So what's going on is we're setting the stage for Goliath challenging the Israelites. The Israelites have been conquering lands, conquering people, and now they find themselves in a place where they are faced with a foe that's an unfamiliar foe. They're faced with an unfamiliar foe, right? And so let me start here. The Philistines now mustered their army for battle and camped between Soko in Judah and Azekah in Ephes-dammim. Saul countered by gathering his Israelite troops near the valley of Elah. So the Philistines and the Israelites faced each other on opposite hills with the valley between them. Then Goliath, a Philistine champion from Gath, came out of the Philistine ranks to face the forces of Israel. He was over 9 feet tall. He wore a bronze helmet and his bronze coat of mail weighed 125 pounds. He also wore bronze leg armor and he carried a bronze javelin on his shoulder. The shaft of his spear was as heavy and thick as a weaver's beam, tipped with an iron spearhead that weighed 15 pounds. His armor bearer walked ahead of him, carrying a shield. Goliath stood and shouted a taunt across to the Israelites. "Why are you all coming out to fight?" he called. "I am the Philistine champion, but you are only the servants of Saul. Choose one man to come down here and fight me. If he kills me, then we will be your slaves. But if I kill him, you will be our slaves. I defy the armies of Israel today. Send me a man who will fight me." And in VeggieTales, it has Goliath that would say, "Who will fight me?" VeggieTales. Y'all watch VeggieTales. It'll teach you something. When Saul and the Israelites heard this, they were terrified and deeply shaken. Now, David was the son of a man named Jesse, an Ephrathite from Bethlehem in the land of Judah. Jesse was an old man at the time, and he had 8 sons. Jesse's 3 oldest sons, Eliab, Abinadab, and Shimea, had already joined Saul's army to fight the Philistines. David was the youngest son. David's 3 oldest brothers stayed with Saul's army, but David went back and forth so he could help his father with the sheep in Bethlehem. For 40 days, every morning and evening, the Philistine champion strutted in front of the Israelite army. One day, Jesse said to David, "Take this basket of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread and carry them quickly to your brothers, and give these 10 cuts of cheese to their captain. See how your brothers are getting along and bring back a report on how they are doing." David's brothers were with Saul and the Israelite army at the valley of Elah, fighting against the Philistines. So David left the sheep with another shepherd and set out early the next morning with the gifts, as Jesse had directed him. He arrived at the camp just as the Israelite army was leaving the battlefield with shouts and battle cries. Soon the Israelite and Philistine forces stood facing each other, army against army. David left his things with the keeper of supplies and hurried out to the ranks to greet his brothers. As he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, came out from the Philistine ranks. Then David heard him shout his usual taunt to the army of Israel. As soon as the Israelites' army saw him, they began to run away in fright. "Have you seen the giant?" the men asked. "He comes out each day to defy Israel. The king has offered a huge reward to anyone who kills him. He will give that man one of his daughters for a wife, and the man's entire family will be exempted from paying taxes." David asked the soldiers standing nearby, "What will a man get for killing this Philistine and ending his defiance of Israel? Who is this pagan Philistine anyway, that he's allowed to defy the armies of the living God?" And these men gave David the same reply. They said, "Yes, that is a reward for killing him." But when David's oldest brother Eliab heard David talking to the men, he was angry. "What are you doing around here anyway?" he demanded. "What about those few sheep you're supposed to be taking care of? I know about your pride and deceit. You just want to see the battle." "What have I done now?" David replied. "I was only asking a question." He walked over to some others and asked them the same thing and received the same answer. Then David's question was reported to King Saul, and the king sent for him. "Don't worry about this Philistine," David told Saul. "I'll go fight him." "Don't be ridiculous," Saul replied. "There's no way you can fight this Philistine and possibly win. You're only a boy, and he's been a man of war since his youth." But David persisted. "I've been taking care of my father's sheep and goats," he said. "When a lion or a bear comes to steal a lamb from the flock, I go after it with a club and rescue the lamb from its mouth. If the animal turns on me, I catch it by the jaw and I club it to death. I've done this for both lions and bears, and I'll do it to this pagan Philistine too, for he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the claws of the lion and the bear will rescue me from this Philistine." Saul consented. "All right, go ahead," he said, "and may the Lord be with you." Then Saul gave David his own armor, a bronze helmet, and a coat of mail. David put it on, strapped the sword over it, and took a step or two to see what it was like, for he had never worn such things before. "I can't go in these," he protested to Saul. "I'm not used to them." So David took them off again. He picked up 5 smooth stones from a stream and put them in his shepherd's bag. Then, armed only with his shepherd's staff and sling, he started across the valley to fight the Philistine. Goliath walked out toward David with his shield bearer ahead of him, sneering in contempt at this ruddy-faced boy. "Am I a dog," he roared at David, "that you come at me with a stick?" And he cursed David by the names of his gods. "Come over here and I'll give your flesh to the birds and wild animals," Goliath yelled. David replied to the Philistine, "You come to me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of heaven's armies, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. Today, the Lord will conquer you, and I will kill you and cut off your head. And then I will give the dead bodies of your men to the birds and wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. And everyone assembled here will know that the Lord rescues his people, but not with sword and spear. This is the Lord's battle, and he will give you to us." As Goliath moved closer to attack, David quickly ran out to meet him. Reaching into his shepherd's bag and taking out a stone, he hurled it with his sling and hit the Philistine in the forehead. The stone sank in. and Goliath stumbled and fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with only a sling and a stone, for he had no sword. Then David ran over and pulled Goliath's sword from its sheath. David used it to kill him and cut off his head. Now listen. Listen. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about it, but just go with me in the story. Just continue the story. I want you to pretend like you're watching a television show. When the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they turned and ran. Then the men of Israel and Judah gave a great shout of triumph and rushed after the Philistines, chasing them as far as Gath and the gates of Ekron. The bodies of the dead and wounded Philistines were strewn all along the road of Sharaim as far as Gath and Ekron. Then the Israelite army returned and plundered the deserted Philistine camp. David took the Philistine's head to Jerusalem, but he stored the man's armor in his own tent. As Saul watched David go out to fight the Philistine, he asked Abner, the commander of his army, "Abner, whose son is this young man?" "I really don't know," Abner declared. "Well, find out who he is," the king told him. As soon as David returned from killing Goliath, Abner brought him to Saul with the Philistine's head still in his hand. "Tell me about your father, young man," Saul said. And David replied, "His name is Jesse, and we live in Bethlehem." Now listen. Y'all, I need y'all to understand something. I know y'all been commenting. Listen. I want y'all to get this. What David did not only changed his life, it changed the life of his family. What David did not only changed his life, it changed the life of his family. I want to go back for a minute. Because I want you guys to understand the power of this entire situation. First of all, listen, let me say this. Sometimes we find ourselves in a position where we're facing a giant that to the natural eye looks like there's no way. There's no way we can win. There's no way. There's just no way, right? We're destined to lose if we mess with this giant, right? That giant may be a person in a position. It could be debt. It could be credit. It could be resentment from people, hateration. It can be any number of things, bills. It can be anything, okay? But it's a giant in your life. What makes it a giant? It's bigger than what you can imagine yourself conquering. And it seems like it's getting bigger, right? So whatever the giant is in your life, I need you to take some lessons from David. Let me tell y'all something. Let me tell you what really pushed David, right? Now, listen, there are all of these great warriors out there. There's King Saul, who was known for his prowess in war and in battle, right? There are all of these people who have been in battle after battle. They're not new to it. They're seasoned veterans. They're seasoned warriors. And here are all these seasoned warriors. And this giant is coming out. This Philistine is coming out 9 feet tall. And they're looking at him like, when he said, "Who will fight me?" You gonna fight? One of y'all gonna fight him? Who gonna fight him? Why? Why is it that after all that God had done, they allowed the fact that this man was a giant, right? Which God gave them a land of giants. So a whole land of giants, right? What made them so fearful? Because let me tell you something. When you look at fighting a giant in the natural, it will always try to stir up fear. Looking at fighting a giant in the natural will always try to stir up fear. You heard me say try to stir up fear, because whether or not fear is stirred is up to you. Okay. See, this is why you got to understand who you are. So what was the difference between this little boy, David, and all of these seasoned warriors who had been in battle after battle, had won battle after battle, right? What was the difference between the little boy, David, this young man, and these seasoned warriors? David trusted more in God than he did in himself. David trusted more in God than he did in himself. Now, let me tell you why I say that. In the text, it talks about how when Goliath is talking and he's threatening them, that they're like, oh, and they begin to shake with fear. David came on the scene and David was immediately like, wait a minute. First of all, who is he to be coming against our God? Like, y'all just gonna let him talk about God like that? Y'all gonna let him punk y'all like that? Y'all supposed to be fighting a whole battle, and y'all out here letting this man talk about you as God's children like that, and mock you and mock God. David said, that don't sit well with me. That don't sit. You don't talk about my God. No, you don't have the right to talk about my God. You dirty Philistine. Don't talk about my God. How dare you even get his name out your mouth? Get his name out your mouth. Why is his name even in your mouth? His name shouldn't even been in your mouth. No, this is not okay. This is not okay. And I can imagine that David was probably looking at them like, what is wrong with y'all? David, instead of looking at just the natural and what was happening in the natural, David was like, oh, this is a spiritual thing because you're talking about my God, and I'm offended by that. I'm offended by that. David became offended by Goliath's nerve to talk about his God and the people of God. Like, you don't have a right to do that. You don't have a right to do that, right? He was offended. David was offended. Now listen, check this out. While Goliath is doing all this, the Israelite army was not offended. They were scared. So the words produced fear in them, but it produced offense in David. It brought his fight up. In psychology, we talk about a concept known as fight or flight, right? Fight or flight is when you feel threatened and either you're going to fight or you're going to run, right? Flight, right? Now, there's another one where you just steal, right? You're just steal, right? And we've been watching as God fought battles for people and basically just had them go to a place and do something, but they didn't have to, do all of the battling. He set it up so that the people killed each other. He set it up so that the walls just fell and everything was open. Well, here we are in the situation with David and Goliath. And we find ourselves looking at a situation and the fight or flight instinct is kicked in and the Israelites and King Saul are ready to run. But David found himself in a place where he was offended that this Philistine thought that he could open his mouth to talk about his God and God's people. David's like, nah, I'm not with that. All of David's inner gangster came up. All of it. No. Have you ever been in a situation where there's something going on and everybody else is scary and you're like, what? You finna let them? No, I'm not. Not with that. I'm not with that. That was David. That's where David was. They was like, why are y'all letting him talk like that? Why are y'all letting him do all that? What? Y'all scared. I'll fight him. And it's a reward. What's the reward? What is the king doing for the whoever kills it? What? You get one of his daughters. Okay, and whatever. Your family doesn't have to pay any taxes. Hold on. Just for killing the man that's defying God? For doing what should have already been done? You get all that? David's like, oh, I'm in. I'll fight him. Now, this is the interesting thing about David's decision to fight Goliath. David's like, I will fight him. David, the youngest, the smallest, the one that you would think was least equipped, least prepared to go into a battle. The youngest, the smallest, the least experienced, and someone you think would be the least prepared or least qualified to go into battle, right? But he's the one that's saying, I'll fight. Let me tell y'all something. Sometimes you will allow other people's experiences to cause you to feel like you're not qualified, when in fact, God would rather have your enthusiasm, your commitment, and your determination than their experience. He would rather have your enthusiasm, your commitment, and your determination than their experience. Because let me tell you why. See, we look at it and we look at it from the natural, and we look at it from the natural, and then looking at it natural, we look at qualifications. What do you have your degree? Where were you born? Like, what are your experiences? How long have you worked in that area? Da, 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 da. So sometimes we will just disqualify ourselves immediately. Well, it said that they're looking for this and I don't have that, so I'm not going to apply. See, David in that situation would have looked at the situation. Okay, he said this. I'll do it. I'll try. I'll do it. Let's go. See, that wouldn't interfere with his willingness to step out, because he has what? Faith. Not faith in himself as much as he has faith in God. See, listen, when you understand that when you're going into battle, it's not so much about your qualifications and what you have. It's about who God is. It's about who God is. God resides in you. So if God resides in you, then you have those things in you. Listen to me. So we get all twisted up and we get all in our feelings and stuff because things don't look the way we want it to look, not understanding that we have the ability and the power to change the way things are. We have that ability. Well, David wasn't taking no for an answer. David was going into battle. He didn't care what it looked like. He didn't care that his brother was mad and got an attitude with him. Like, who you think you are? You're going to come out here trying to show out and you're going to talk about you're going to do that. You can't even, you go tend your little few sheep that you got. Brother was hating. Don't be mad because I'm not scared and you are. Don't be mad at me. That's on you. You know, so his own brother, it'd be your own people. It'd be your own family sometimes, y'all. It'd be your own people. Sometimes they'll be looking at you, be trying to move you out of the way, because who do you think you are to go in and go into this battle, to say that you're going to fight this battle, to say that you're going into war? Why are you even here? You're not even supposed to be here. You're not even qualified to be here. But see, God is the great qualifier, and I don't care what natural qualifications you have. If God hasn't qualified you, it doesn't matter about those natural qualifications. You will lose every time. Eventually. That may not look like a loss in the beginning. That's okay. But I'm telling you, you'll lose. Why? Because you'll be more dependent on your natural than you will be on God. I'm going to tell y'all something about me. Listen, I don't claim to be a great theologian. Okay. I am not a great theologian. That's not who God has called me to be. There are some people who have been called to tap into the great theology and engage in theological debates. It's not me. But you know what I am? I am a great mouthpiece for God. I ain't scared. I'm going to say what he say. I'm going to do what he says do. That's me. That's who I am. So what makes me different from a great theologian? I have great faith and confidence in God's ability to speak through me. I'm not worried about my intelligence and my intellect. We know I'm smart. I'm brilliant. I could go tit for tat and stuff if I wanted to, but to me, a lot of the stuff that's debated is foolishness. It's not moving people closer to God. It's not moving the kingdom and advancing the kingdom. I'm not engaging in frivolous theological academic debates over stuff that is not going to move the kingdom forward. See, I'm about action. I'm about application. I'm about that practicality. See, I'm that one that's just crazy enough to go into the situation that looks like a natural setup for a loss and say, okay, let's go. Let's go. Why? Faith. Faith in God. Faith in the God in me. Faith. Faith is a necessary component of this journey. See, in order for David to slay the giant, in order for him to slay Goliath, the first thing that he had to do was show up. He showed up. He showed up on the scene. His daddy sent him to take his brother some food and stuff and some food for the camping, because his daddy really wanted to know how's everything going, how my son's doing. My son's doing all right out there. You know, they holding their own. They pulling their weight. He wanted to know how his sons were doing in the battle. He wanted to know what was going on. They didn't have newspapers. They didn't have newscasts, television broadcasts. They didn't have all of that. In order to get information, someone had to physically go. So he sent David with the food so that he could find out what was going on with the battle. He didn't know that David was going to step into what he stepped into. He had no idea, but he sent him on an assignment. You see, you may not know why you have to be in a place, but show up anyway, because God has sent you on an assignment. Show up. Show up. If you're going to slay, the first part of slaying is you got to show up. You got to show up. Right? Now listen, after you show up, don't immediately swing into action. No, you can't immediately swing into action because there's something else that you have to do first. Hold on, let me write this down, baby, because this stuff is good. Oh my goodness. Slay. Okay. The S, you gotta first show up. Oh, this is good. Show up. Show up. You got to show up. You got to show up. That means when God gives you an assignment, you take this time. So listen to this. I want y'all to check this out. So I'm in Atlanta because I came for a vending event. It was a pop-up. My little cousin / niece was doing it. She was hosting it. And that's why I came, right? That's why I came. Now, of course, I've got some other things, other components to my trip that are taking place. But I came for the pop-up in Atlanta on May 1st, right? That was yesterday. I did not go. But that's why I showed up. But listen to me. I want y'all to hear me because God always has a plan. I was so tired. I was trying to get the rental car taken care of. There were challenges that were at the airport waiting 3 to 4 hours just to be able to get to the counter, only for them to say there are no cars. And people are sitting around waiting, just waiting. Depressed, disgusted, frustrated, just waiting. Well, me being me, I'm not sitting in nowhere and standing in no line for no 3 to 4 hours to get to the counter for them to tell me there are no cars. There's no cars. I'm not doing that. I'm not. I'm just talking about me. I'm not going to give you 3 to 4 hours of my time. No, no. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So I had a meeting. Someone picked me up. I went to my meeting. I came back. Really, it was like a little early dinner, okay? But we were meeting. So when I came back, only to discover that they were now in line for 2 hours, only to get to the front, and there still would not be cars because people were sitting on the side waiting for cars to show up. So I was going to sit there in the rental car center overnight waiting for a car. I hadn't had any sleep. No, that's not what I do. Not me. That's not what I do. So I left. I said, ma'am, excuse me. Went up to the front. Excuse me. Will I be able to pick up my car tomorrow? She was like, yeah, you have 24 hours from the time that is, okay, your reservation was set. Okay. But I knew I didn't want to deal with them. This was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever seen in my life, okay? I was like, no, there's got to be another way. There's got to be a better solution. I'm not doing this, right? So literally, that's what I did was I found another solution. But check this out. I was tired. I didn't go to the vending event. So God said, go to Little Peach Cobbler. Pastor Sean and LaShonda Jones own it. Go eat, go hang out. Okay. So I'm thinking, listen again, I want y'all to listen, the assignment. I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going just to eat. I'm like, I'm coming to eat. That's what I said. I'm coming to eat. I did eat. The food was amazing. Everything was great. It was great to see them. I love seeing the girls. They've all grown up. It was just so incredible. I just had to hug and squeeze them and just hold them, right? Everybody, like I'm just holding them because it was so good to see them, okay? So I'm thinking, okay, now, I've eaten. I'm good. We're getting ready to head back to the house. God said, stop at Quick Trip and get a charger. I said, okay, well, my phone is low, so it makes sense. So I stopped at Quick Trip, the gas station, to, get a cup of ice because I had some lemonade I brought from there, and to get a charger, right? So I go in, I get the ice, I get the charger, I pay for it, I go back, I get in the truck, and I'm sitting there. But I'm just sitting there. I'm opening up the charger. Meanwhile, people are coming in and out. People are, I'm plugging in my phone. I'm talking to my sister, so we just sitting there. Just sitting there in front of Quick Trip. So I've already come out. I've done everything that I was going into the store to do. I came out. I'm sitting in the car, in the truck. I'm sitting there. But I can't really move. And I don't, I'm not paying it any attention. But I'm sitting here and she and I are just talking back and forth. And somebody pulls up, right? They pull up. I look again. Okay, they go in the store. We still sitting there talking. The man comes back and gets in his vehicle. God says, go give him a word. See, God, this is why I don't fool with you. See, I'm just telling y'all, this is how God moves for me. I'm like, God, listen, I am in a strange land. These people do not know me. I am not trying to go over here. So I'm hoping that the man is going to leave before I can get out the car, right? No, the man is sitting over there. I said, well, he's sitting over there for a little longer than I'm. He's sitting there, and the guy says, go now. I said, I gotta get out of the car. I have to run around. I have to kind of tap on the man's window. Excuse me. The man rolling the window down because he don't know me. We were in Morrow, Georgia, but listen, this is Atlanta area, okay? Excuse me. God told me to tell you da 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 da. And the more I spoke, the stronger my voice became, right? God just was speaking to him. The man threw his hands up, got out of the vehicle, and was just pacing. He said, you don't understand. You don't understand. I was up all night praying and asking God for peace. And everything that you just spoke was a confirmation of what God told me, right? So the man was just overtaken. Now listen, my sister in the car, she's trying to figure out what's going on because I'm getting loud. I'm gonna clap my hands. I'm like, and da 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 da, and I'm loud and stuff. And she thinking that the man done hit the car or something, and I'm trying to fight the man. I'm cussing the man out. I didn't cuss the man out, y'all. I bless the man. And so I give him the word that God has given me to give to him, and then he turns around and speaks a blessing over my life, right? I get back in the vehicle, and my sister said, what was that about? God needed me to give him a word. Oh, well, did he look like he needed a word? It wasn't that he looked like he needed a word. It was simply that God told me to give the man a word. Go get a man a word. Tell him this. Now listen to me, y'all. I'm not trying to be super deep or super spiritual, but I'm just trying to tell y'all that you have to show up. It's so funny because my sister was like, and you just didn't go to the event and the people are going to be disappointed. Let me tell you what I've learned. I've learned that if God puts a hesitancy or tells me to do something else, even if I paid my money, I got to do what God says, right? And I just couldn't go. If I had gone to the event, I would not have been at the Quick Trip when the man pulled up who needed the word from God right then. He needed a word right then. He didn't need a word some days later. Who knows if I ever would have crossed paths with that man or if I'll ever cross paths with him again, right? But God needed me to be at Quick Trip right at that time, that particular time in the day, so that man could pull up and he could get the word that he needed. You got to show up on your assignment. Wherever God tells you to go, go there. Whatever God tells you to do, do that. Whatever God speaks, speak that. Whatever God tells you to do, do that. Listen, y'all, but you got to show up. It is time out for you all not showing up. No, I don't want to hear it. Listen, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I am sick of God's children not showing up when God needs them to show up, not doing what God needs them to do because they're stuck in a schedule that they had already created, but they're not open to the move of God. If you're so stuck in your schedule that you can't move when God says move, it is a problem. Your schedule has become your God. Your rituals have become your God. Your ceremonies have become your God. If you cannot listen to the voice of God and God tell you to do something different from what you normally do, then that thing has become your God. And it's a problem. If the true and living God says, I need you to do this, and you say, but I can't do it because it's the Sabbath, or I can't do it, God. No, this is Communion Sunday. We got to do communion. Y'all, listen, I'm trying to tell y'all something. I'm trying to help you. You got to show up for the assignment, which may mean that you got to go somewhere different from where you normally are. Listen, if God has an assignment for you all, and it means that you're not going to be able to be on this broadcast, that's why there is a replay. There's a replay ministry. There is a replay ministry. The replay ministry means that this broadcast is available for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can always come back and watch it. But if God has got something that he needs you to do right now, I'm talking about, he gives you a rhema word, a right now word to do something, do that. I don't want you to ever feel like, oh, well, how am I going to tell Dr. V? How are you going to tell me what? God said to do something. You do what God told you to do. You don't even have to tell me before you do it. Do what God tells me to do. Fill me in when you get a chance. Listen, I'm not moving like that. I need you to understand that you got to show up. Show up. The only way you can slay is by showing up. David showed up. Now check this out. Now I know we're going a little longer, y'all. Just bear with me though. I know we're going a little longer than we normally do, but bear with me. There is a reason, there is a method to the madness, okay? So not only do you have to show up, but check this out, y'all. Check this out. I want y'all to catch it. I want you to catch it. The L. Oh goodness, I gotta delete some stuff. Hold on. Let me delete some stuff. I gotta delete some stuff. In order for me to get all these banners to show. Hold on. Okay. The L. David showed up. And the next thing that David did was he listened. You gotta listen. Now right there, a lot of y'all already done lost the battle. Y'all are gonna miss the sleigh. Why? Because you don't freaking listen. You don't leave so busy talking, running your mouth that you don't listen. Listen sometimes. Sometimes just shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Be quiet. Stop running your mouth. Close your lips. Pretend that there's a zipper there and zip it. Listen. Listen. You got to listen. Listen, if you can't listen, you won't hear. You won't be sensitive enough to hear what God is saying. You won't hear what you need to hear in order to move the way that you need to move. You have to listen. Y'all know I say it all the time. Listen, Linda, listen, listen. When I say listen, I promise you I'm getting ready to say something that you need to attend to. I didn't say hear. I didn't say hear. There's a difference between hearing and listening. Let me break that down for you. Hearing is a physiological process. It's a physiological process. It means that the sound enters your eardrum and you're able to hear the sound. That's a physiological. Listening is not just physiological. You have to hear in order to listen. But then listening is when you begin to take the information that you have heard and process that information. Listening includes processing the information, understanding it, comprehending it, making it make sense for you, right? Listen is more than hearing. So when people say, I hear you, I don't want you to hear me. I need you to listen to me. I don't want you to just hear me. I want you to listen to me. Listening implies that you are attending to the information that you are hearing. Listen. See, David showed up and he listened. He listened, and as he was listening, he's trying to figure out what's going on. He's like, wait a minute. First, he's listening to Goliath. Who will fight me? Yeah. Who are you talking to? Why are you talking all bold like that? Mocking my God? You mocking my God? He listened. His listening resulted in an offense for God. An offense for God. See, y'all listen and get offended over some stupid-ish, but y'all won't listen and get offended because someone is coming against your God? Come on, somebody. Come on. Are you serious? Are you serious right now? You've got to listen. Listen. So David listened and he heard Goliath and something rose up in him. You don't talk about my God like that. No, that's not what we do over here, right? But then he continued to listen and he heard that there was a reward for killing Goliath. How do I know that he was listening? He asked questions. So what's going on? What happens if you kill him? Oh, if you kill the giant, then, if you kill him, then, the king said that he's going to give you one of his daughters and, your family won't have to pay taxes ever again. You're like, what? Listen, David is shrewd, but he understands not only the positioning of that, but he understands that that's a blessing for his family. So I can hand my whole family won't never have to pay no more taxes. Because daddy be fussing about them taxes. He was talking about the taxes. So if we do this, I get a wife, that's the daughter of the king, and we don't pay no taxes. He listened, right? So in his listening, he goes on and he tells Saul, hey, well, I'll fight him. Wait, I'll fight him. Saul says, okay, here, we'll put my stuff on, right? Put my stuff on, right? Right? He listening to him. He said, okay, he put it on. But baby, let me tell y'all something. Hold on. Y'all ready for the A? Listen. Listen. He put on the armor that Saul had on. Saul's armor. Now, this should have been a slam dunk. The king let him wear his stuff. The king let you wear his stuff. He gave you his Gucci for you to wear. Oh, you got his Prada. Oh, what? You got this, you got that. He put it on. He was trying to, this don't feel right. So he had to adjust. He had to adjust. See, yes, he put on Saul's armor, and while Saul's armor was perfect for him, it wasn't perfect for David. See, some of y'all, your problem is this. You won't make adjustments because someone said that you need to do it like this. You won't adjust and make it yours. You won't adjust and make it fit for you. You won't adjust and shift it, change it so that it works in your situation. You won't do that. Why? Because you're just trying to do what everybody else is doing. Do you not know that you are not normal, you are not average, and you are not everybody else? So you done put on somebody else's armor. You done put on someone else's plan, someone else's blueprint, somebody else's whatever, and it's not working for you. Adjust. You got to adjust. Take that mess off and listen to God. Listen to what is God saying? What is God telling you to do? How did God tell you to do that? No, you don't want to do that. You want to just do it like everybody else does it because that's how everybody else does it. Bump everybody else and what they do and how they do it. You are not them and they are not you. So one of the things that I had to learn was I had to learn that I couldn't do things the way everybody else did. And I would want to. Oh my God, I just wish it would be so much easier if I could just do it the way other people do it. If I could take someone else's blueprint and just say, okay, I'm just going to do it just like that. It never works for me. I promise you it never works for me. It never works for me. Ever. It doesn't. I can do the exact same thing as somebody else and God and told me to do that, but I can do it and it won't get me the results that other people get with it. Why? I ain't everybody else. God does things a certain way with me. And so I have to understand that and adjust in the same way that David adjusted. David adjusted. He took all that heavy stuff off, all of the armor, all of the helmet, all of that. He went out there. All he had was what he normally had when he would go into the fields. That's all he had. But not only that, but not only did he have to adjust in terms of his attire, he had to adjust in terms of his mindset. Right? He had to adjust in terms of his mindset. See, let me tell y'all something about David. David understood some things that sometimes we miss, right? He understood that while everybody else was focused on the size of the giant, right? David said, well, wait a minute, let me look at this. Okay. Yeah, he's 9 feet tall. Okay. He's big. Excuse me, he's big. Okay. But this is how David adjusted his mentality. See, because you got to adjust not only in the physical, in your attire and what you wear and how you do it, but you got to adjust your mind. You got to adjust your mind. So David said, well, wait a minute, but when I protect my sheep, listen, I've had to kill a lion. I've had to kill a bear. Listen, and I did it with my slingshot and stuff. I just said what I got. I grabbed my foot, club him in the head, hit him in the head, not kill him. Listen, I just used what I had. See, that's a different mindset. See, sometimes we think, well, if I had this or if I had that, well, then I would be able to. David knew that he could use what he had because he had done it in the past and it worked. So he had to, hey, listen. So when he's talking to Solomon, he's like, listen, I know y'all don't think I'm prepared for this, but let me tell you something. When I'm in the field, my job is to protect the sheep. If a lion come, I got to fight the lion. If a bear come, I got to protect my sheep. That's my job, is to protect the sheep. So it doesn't matter what my size is, and it doesn't matter what I have. I use what I have to protect the sheep, to engage in the battle. And I win. Because I've been winning. Lion, bear, I've been winning. This is just another thing for me to win. This is another thing for me to win. He had to adjust his mindset. Some of you are losing in life because you have a loser's mentality. What is a loser's mentality? A loser's mentality says the obstacles are greater than my probability of maybe possibly sometimes having some success. Lies from the devil, lies, all lies that have been programmed into your mind from the time that you were little. You had an experience where you failed at something. And so then now you got this whole fear of failure. I don't want to fail. Somebody laughed at me. I don't want them to laugh at me. I don't care if they laugh or not. It is irrelevant to me. I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to do me, whether they laugh, whether they like it, whether they love it. It doesn't matter. See, when you get to the point where you stop allowing people's opinions of you to determine whether or not you move, whether or not you do what God says, then you can do what God says. And listen, check this out. What will happen is God will redeem you. He'll redeem your name. He'll redeem your character. He'll redeem your position. He'll redeem your time. He'll redeem your finances, your relationships. He'll redeem everything. It does not matter. But if you have to move when God says move. You got to know that you know that God got you. And guess what? This gonna bless y'all. Hold on. This gonna bless y'all. Listen, let me say this, because I need y'all to get this, okay? Now, you can be in a place where you're connected to someone, okay? You're connected to someone and God shifts you. Y'all go different ways. And God can still use and bless both of you. But he just needed y'all to separate. Now listen, I know a little bit about this. I'm just saying, I know a little bit about this. I've had to leave places and people, and it didn't go right. It didn't go well because it didn't go well. It didn't go well. It didn't go well. Some people, they still don't really fool with me because I had to leave, right? Some people still mad at me because I had to do something different, okay? Listen, God fixes what he wants to fix, but God's plan is always to bless his people. He's going to work it out for both of your good. It's for both of your good, because sometimes we stay in places and situations too long and God can't do what he needs to do because we've got another assignment and we're not fulfilling our assignment because we're working someone else's assignment. Sometimes there's a separation that must occur. Abraham and Lot, prime example, they had to separate. Both of them couldn't exist on that same spot of land because they had gotten too big. It was too much. So it had to shift. Okay. Now, adjust your mindset. I had to put that out there because sometimes we as a people, we get confused. And when people are no longer connected to something that they used to be connected to, we think they no longer have value. And that's not the case. I'm just saying, y'all need to know that. Okay. Don't let anybody ever make you feel like that. And don't you feel like that, right? Don't you put that on yourself, right? Sometimes there has to be a separation in order to move forward. You got to adjust your mentality so that you have a winning mentality, right? So you got to show up, you got to listen, you got to adjust. Hold on, y'all, hold on. Why? All right, y'all ready? Y'all ready for why? You got to yield to God's power. See, this is what David knew. David knew, and if you pay attention, he says it. He says, for God will give you to us. God will give you to us. You got to yield to God's power. If you're doing this in your own strength, you will always run into problems. But if you yield to God's power, God has the power to do whatever he needs to do to lay the victory at your feet. No, you trying to figure it out, map it out, work it out, walk it out. You trying to do all of that, but you're not yielding to God's power. Let God give you the victory. Let God hand you the victory. You'll notice in all of the examples that we had, whether we were talking about Gideon or Joshua, or whether we're talking about David, God has given them the victory. What is that famous scripture in there? The battle is not mine, it's the Lord's. It's not my battle, it's God's battle. So you got to yield to God's power in the battle. You got to yield to God's power in the battle. When you yield to God's power in the battle, you give him permission and authority to do whatever he needs to do in order to hand the victory over to you. Now, I'm not saying that you got to do it your way. No, your way is not the way. You've got to yield to God's power so that God's power can show up and do what it needs to do. So listen, I'm just trying to tell y'all, it is time to slay. It is time to slay. See, being battle ready is more than just what you have on, which is why I don't have on camouflage today. Listen, and God worked that thing out. Listen, and my camouflage jacket is over there. He said, no, not for this one. No, you finna put on a different kind of, see, you finna slay, okay? Show up, listen, adjust, and yield to God's power. It's time to slay. Now, y'all can play if you want to, but I'm slaying. You play, I'll slay. Right? And I'm going to see you on the other side. Today, know that God has a plan for your life. And that plan is to prosper you. It is to bring you to an expected end. It is take you to a place that you may have never been before. No, let me change. It's to take you to a place that you have never been before. A place that you don't really know like that. It may require you to adjust. It may require you to do some things that you're not familiar with. But listen, God simply wants us to do what he tells us to do. And listen to this song for a second.
In spite of my issues, you still love me. Beyond my frailties, beyond my fear, you see past my transgressions. You see past all of my shame. Decided to love me in spite of me. You gave me beauty for ashes, joy for my mourning, strength when I'm weak. Everything has changed. I'm no longer the same. My only desire is you. All I want is you. All I need is you. Nothing else matters as long as I'm with you. All I want is you. All I need is you. Yeah.
As you listen to this music, get your seed together, get your offering together. Put seed in the ground so that you can get your harvest. Sow into the work that God is doing. If this word blessed you, put a seed in the ground. Put a seed in the ground. Put a seed in the ground. Get in the habit of sowing seed where you eat, okay? So that someone else can have a harvest too. In spite of all of my issues, he still loves me, and he loves you too. Beyond all my frailties, beyond my sin. Every mistake I made, all the hurt, the guilt, and the shame, he decided to love me in spite of me. See, he gave me beauty for ashes, joy for my mourning, peace, strength in my weakness, and he gave me peace in the battle. I'm no longer the same. All I need is you, God. It's time, y'all. It's time. It's time for you to understand that what God is doing in this season is for you. It's not to you. Everything that's happening right now in your life is happening for you and not to you. God is moving things around for his glory. You all, I pray that this word has blessed you. I encourage you to join us on Wednesday nights for our, oh my goodness, this is our Let's Get Raw, Real Anointed Word, where we work the word. We work the word. We literally take the word and put it to work. Today, I don't want you to just have heard this message. I want to apply this message to the giants in your life, whatever they are, and slay. Slay. What is that? Y'all know what it is. Show up. Listen. Adjust and yield to God's power so that He can hand you the victory. You all, I pray that God would continue to bless you beyond measure, that He would show you in a way you've never seen yourself before, that everything that your hands touch would prosper, and every place your feet tread that He's already given you dominion, you'll walk heavy and boldly in it. That your worst days are behind you and your best days are ahead of you. That the promises of God for your life are yea and amen, which means yes and let it be so. And that everything that God has declared over your life must come to pass, because His word will not return to Him void, but it will, it shall, and it must accomplish everything that it is sent forth to accomplish. Keep Corey's family in prayer. Her nephew died recently. Keep her family in prayer. And y'all listen, know this, know that even in the midst of tragedy, there's something that God is doing. Remember that no matter what you're going through, there's something that God is doing. Keep Jackie in your prayers. She's not been feeling good. And I just declare divine healing over everyone under the sound of my voice, that God would touch your bodies right now, that you would begin to heal from the inside out, and that you would walk out the healing that is already yours. He's already given it, and all you got to do is walk it out. Listen, I love you guys to life and life more abundant. Have an absolutely amazing, incredible, and epic day. Know that God's got you. Let's slay. Be blessed.